Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and we're back to another recording of Magic the Gathering Arena. Today is Monday, July 6th. Let's start by re-rolling cast 20 creature spells. I kind of hate to have to re-roll that, but that is what we're going to do. I guess we'll play red to get these daily quests done. Let's go to the store. We really don't have a lot of news today. So there has been this thought. Let's see, we have like one uncommon we need to craft, and then we can open some packs. There is this thought that we could move drafts to Monday. I think that might be a very useful ability, really, as it, or let's see, what do I want to craft? If we have one uncommon, let's start to get a little bit pickier. Yeah, let's go ahead and craft another one of these, because these guys do have some potential. Of course, I didn't check to see if there were any that I hadn't crafted that were uncommons, but I was fairly certain I hadn't. So yeah, I think if we move the draft to Mondays, we do a draft today, that lets us move forward and potentially get gems, which we still need gems. And yeah, we just have a bunch of cards here that we got, that we can then jump back this direction and see we got a second copy of that, a fourth copy of that, a fourth copy. Well, actually we got a fifth copy of that one. Or that was the one we just crafted. Let's see. That may have been the one we just crafted. We got a second copy of that, second copy of that, and second copy of that. So we are still doing fairly well. Profile wise, we have done our rank, but the season ends in 25 days, and so the mastery won't be unlocked if I waited 25 days. We're making decent progress already as far as levels. There's 90 levels in this mastery set, and we are at 16 already. If we move forward a couple levels, we'll get 200 more gems. And then another 200 gems, and then another 200 gems. That would be 600. That gets us to 2,900 on our own. Then another 200 gems, which would be 3,100. So that's just about 300 gems short. And then another 200 gems there, and another 200 gems there. So if we do make it to rank 90 alone, we will have enough gems to unlock this mastery pass. But the danger in this very large danger, is that the next expansion, whatever it may be, will be really short on gems. Let's see. There was something here called the Standard Metagame Challenge that is going on. Bring your standard deck and play a best of 3 matches. You'll receive rewards based on how many matches you win. So for 2,000, if you could get 3 wins, you get 2,000 back in a pack. But then it becomes exponentially more difficult, because after 4 wins, you get 2,500 gold and 5 packs. Ooh, wait a minute. So 1 pack, then 3 packs, then 5 packs, then 10 packs, and 20 packs, and 30 packs, and 5,000 gold. Wow. For 7 wins, this is really good. but it's first loss and you're out. So the odds of me even getting 3 victories are pretty low. This really is a top tier challenge. Like, and I am nowhere near a top tier player. And then this, see, traditional draft is 10,000, and it gives you packs. If you get 2 wins, you play 3 matches, and this is different. So you play 3 matches, and it's just whatever 3 matches you play. If you get 3 wins, you might get 3,000 gems and 6 packs, but you might also get 0 losses and just get 1 pack for 10,000. And then the packs themselves for 10,000 are not really worth it. It's the gems that would be worth it. Let's see, even getting 2 wins is kind of pushing your luck on the traditional draft. So I don't know if traditional draft is the right move. Or we could play premium and at least we'll get 50 gems, which I think premium draft probably is the right way to go. Best of 3. Well, play until you get 3 losses. You have considerably fewer packs in this draft than some of the others, but you're guaranteed gems regardless, even if the gems at 7 wins are still kind of small compared to some of the other ones. The ones they're suggesting would be for regular players or novice players is the premium draft. Again, these are draft packs though, which there's a slight difference. I'm still not sure I understand them. Whereas these are limited packs. And if we did this, we'd have to use gems. And you'd only get back your gems if you did that. So sealed is totally out the window. And quick draft. Quick draft probably is the smarter move because it's half as expensive. And you still have the same payout schedule. 50, 100, 200, 300, 450, 650, 850, and 950. So, yeah. Compare that to this. 50, 100, 250, 1,000, 1,400, 650, 1,600, 1,800, 22. Okay. So the reward schedule's not quite as good. It's not quite as good doing this, but if we can get even up to 3 victories, you get more gems. So this is the one we're gonna do. As for the accountability section, I did play 2 episodes, which was probably about 4 hours between the 2 of them. Of 7 Billion Humans. That game is just wrecking me. I am so not happy with the puzzles and the programs they're asking you to solve. I'm not happy with the programming language. I'm not happy with the optional challenges and how they measure the optional challenges, particularly in speed, where there's this arbitrary quote unquote seconds measurement, and there's no idea whatsoever what changes the number of seconds a program takes or not, because it's not just like one command equals 1 second as far as I can tell. It seems like a lot of commands take a lot longer than other commands, and there's no breadcrumbing or tutorializing to explain any of that to you. This is where I should take as much time as possible in the very first move, but instead I took the good cards. Like, I should take as much time as possible. I should just let this scroll down to this point until it tells me what I have and what I don't. And I probably should try to play something a little bit better. So, like, maybe green instead of going with red. Let's see, what does this do? You know what? Let's go with green. And here we have a green-blue card that we don't have. And yeah. Here we have a green. So we're gonna kind of focus on green-blue. And because I took so long, I had a bunch stack up, which now I have a little bit more time to wait. And we can look and just let our program tell us how many copies of these cards do we have. Do I really want to take this this card, which is a rare or gold on the label, or do I want to wait and take something like this, which is just a common? In fact, all of these are common, so it would be fairly ridiculous for me to take anything but this. And I have about 16 seconds, and you can see, well, you can't see, but my app is not kicking in, so it just seemed like it just kind of fails sometimes. But that's still better than nothing. Like, the Untapped.gg app does definitely help me have more memory than I ever really would have when doing these drafts, and makes it a lot easier. And see, this would be a great argument against the idea of me ever playing Paper Magic, is that I would never ever be able to remember what cards I'm looking for, what cards I'm not looking for. Probably could take this. This is a gain 1 life. This is a scry 1. Okay. This is I'm gonna take this because apparently that's a really good card. And we're gonna continue to try and do green and blue. And we'll try and balance this out. Let's see. Now 4 more page counters, you get a gain 4 life. Maze Mine Tome. Probably won't keep that, but we'll see. Yeah, so 7 billion humans is killing me. It's also really not encouraging me to do any programming in it. It's encouraging me to do programming elsewhere, which was the kind of opposite idea of why I was playing this game, because I was dangerously thinking about writing a educational book pamphlet type thing on teaching Python to like kids, and I'm not really qualified for that, and I would never get published. I guess I have to take this and just hope I don't already have 4 copies of it. I'm fairly certain I don't. But I was kind of hoping to burn myself out from that idea fairly quickly by playing a programming game and saying, okay, I've had my fill of programming. And instead, all 7 billion humans has done is irritated me enough that that I have moved on to doing other things. So instead, I went and worked on my router and had it set it up to quite ingeniously use a command line program called curl, C-U-R-L, to send a command that is the equivalent of sending an email in this case. So it sends all of my router logs in an email to myself, which did require for Gmail to allow me to reduce the security a little bit on the Gmail account I used, but I overall am still satisfied with the level of security there. But after that point I said, well, hey, let's step it up even more, and let's encrypt the logs. That way Snoopy, I have to take that one. There's no question on that one. Gmail can't snoop in it, or people that would hack into my Gmail account wouldn't be able to see the router logs anyways, because it's encrypted using GNU PG, which is compatible with OpenPGP, which is a email / text message, in general, basically anything that's text encryption protocol, where you either upload a public key to one of the many names key server sites that are available, or you just give a public key to anybody that you want to be able to read the email, and any man in the middle just sees an encrypted mess, unless that encryption gets broken, which, let's face it, at some point that encryption probably will get broken. But it's more than nothing, certainly. And I've worked on encrypting emails. There's one called, there's a plugin for Chrome called Mailvelope, and it probably is for Thunderbird and Firefox too. That just automates it, helps you create keys by default, and upload it to their server, their key server, the public key. There's a private key and a public key. I guess I have to take this again. And so you do just you can use Mailvelope very easily and encrypt emails and text messages too, if you use the right software. I've worked on that, but I am in this weird position where my enthusiasm for encryption and security, like many IT people, is not shared by most people. Most people don't care. Most people just want ease of use, and in all fairness to them, most of the time, most communications could easily be spied on by Gmail or any other man-in-the-middle organization, and it's not going to be anything. If you are going to do something that you know is illegal, you would definitely be better suited to ensure that you do not write about it or talk about it on any kind of physical or electronic device, and you only talk and code it face to face with somebody in some dark alley. That's about the only way you could even begin to not get caught. So yeah, that's what I ended up doing, is spending a lot of time messing with my router to email logs and then encrypt them logs and email logs. It took me one step further than I originally thought I was going to go. And then I had already set up a script where if you press the button on the back that is usually the easy setup, the SES button that is not used with my custom router firmware because it's been encrypted and hacked, it proved itself to be very hackable, SES and easy setup. So any router that actually uses it should probably disable it if you can. So there's just this button that was there that was doing nothing, and so I set it up to take, let's see, well, guess we'll take this one. I set it up to remove the passwords from the Wi-Fi and remove the passwords from the well, I'm just gonna take this just to spite somebody else. It removes the passwords from the Wi-Fi, and it removes the password from the what am I trying to say? But this is a gold. I've got to keep taking the golds. I really got a rare draft from the website part of the router, so that people could go in there and change the passwords if it was forgotten. Basically, it's a dead man switch. If I get hit by a bus, there's now a button on the back of the router, which is definitely not secure, because now anybody with any even momentary physical access to my router can very quickly and easily remove all security on it. But yeah, it still keeps all the other settings, which is very helpful considering how much custom soft settings have been done. The one thing I will say about the encryption software on the router, which I did have to install the encryption software, was it unfortunately is not the newest version of GNU PG, so it does not seem to support elliptical curves, which are the new experimental encryption pattern that are supposed to be better than what we have now. And there is a lot of thoughts that the RSA encryption method will, which is what it does support, will be completely rendered useless as soon as lots of government agencies and people have quantum computers that really start to work that way, or be affordable. Relatively speaking, affordable to a government that's using taxpayers' money, of course. So the elliptical curve is the next step to prevent and maintain security, or it's the hopes to be the next step to prevent and maintain security. Particularly curve 25519, I believe it is. It starts 255, which is the proposed curve. Some of the curves are not considered very safe, and there's a website called Safe Curves that talks about them. But yeah, the software isn't updated as much as I would like it to be, where Melvelope does allow you to make an elliptical curve key. And I would also say that it's amazing that the router can install any software at all. There's a program that I installed at some point called OPKG, which probably stands for Open Package, that allows you to install software on the router. But the router itself is also a little bit weird in the fact that you are very much usually not able to install anything on a permanent basis on the router, because all of the memory is loaded from flash memory, and it gets reset when you reset the router. So there's a special partition, particularly on high level routers, that it formatted and made kind of like an SD card. Let's see, well, yeah, let's just let it auto select that. And it's called the JFFS, which is probably something like jumbo flash file system or something along that line, if I was to guess. That I had to set up to mount and use. And see, do I want that or do I want that? And once I set up that permanent storage, that did open a lot of doors as far as being able to install things on a permanent basis and make progress. It does really go to show that there is no value in working with something that you can't make progress on a lot of times. So you probably would be better off avoiding that kind of stuff if you are working with something that has to just constantly be reconfigured. You could do it, certainly. You could have if you have enough memory in the flash settings on DDWRT's program, you could write really long codes that just sets everything up the way you want it to be fairly easily, but it would be such a hassle and dangerous. So we have a counter, we have a defender, we have a 1-2. Let's think about getting rid of the defender. Good top 3 cards of your library. Seeker of Truth. Counter. Destroy an artifact. +1. This gives you a really strong card. Like counters. Draw 3 cards, then discard a card. You may not need that. Let's go ahead and get rid of the shrine card. Draw cards. Draw cards. Draw cards. This one's probably a little too expensive of a card to play. This is a 7/3, that's pretty big. Let's go ahead and think about getting rid of one of those. We really ended up with a lot of cards that are definitely Let's see. Let's go ahead and get rid of that. And I think Radiant Fountain is fine. Let's get rid of those two. Let's go ahead and get rid of that. Yeah, I kind of think I have to just stick with everything that we've got wow. Let's see. Yeah, it's gonna be hard to eliminate things. All right, and 1 and 2. There we go. So that's 19 cards of 40 as lands. Let's hope that this works. 30 minutes to set up, and a lot of just BS nerd talk. And yeah, we really don't have a lot of video game news. I'm not sure we will have a lot of video game news. That is a lot of land to start with, and I love that idea. I love the idea that I might have plenty of land and that this guy might just be mana screwed. Let's see. If it entered from the graveyard, they're cast from the graveyard, exile it. If you do, create a 5/5 black demon. Interesting. Well, you might as well diversify. This is an instant. We might as well just attack. So we'll try and cover the video game news, but I'm not joking. There is basically nothing here. So I guess that would be a great opportunity to do some let's see, destroy enchantment. Let's see. All right, well, we'll play that. And we'll just face race this. But he has lifelink, so that's not gonna work. Apparently Breath of the Wild 2's voice work is finished. I didn't even know there was a Breath of the Wild 2 in development. I would be fairly surprised if they actually called the game Breath of the Wild 2, because there has not been a single Legend of Zelda game, as far as I recall, that has a just 2 at the end of it. They always seem to have a different name. Let's see. So that is one thing. I'm gonna do no attacks because this isn't getting me anywhere. But yeah, that's about it. The Steam Summer Sale ends in about 3 days. I've been fairly bad about logging in every day and getting the free stickers, which I'll never use the stickers, or looking at the curator list one time. I actually appreciate that they did change it down to you just have to go through one group of 10 games through the curator feed instead of doing what they were doing before, which was having it turn into 3 feeds of 10. Like, going through 10 new games is way more durable. Let's see, play this. 1/1 counter, and then deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control. Okay. I've been trying to kill this guy for a while. 1/1 soul counter. So every time something dies, this is just gonna get stronger and stronger. I shouldn't have wasted my ability to destroy an equipment or an artifact. That is a much more important artifact to have destroyed. Let's see. He still is death touch, so still wouldn't really be a problem. So yeah, I need to work a little bit harder where as far as to get the trading cards. I'm gonna get a level 1 badge on the Steam Summer Sale just because I have enough cards that it makes sense to waste a couple dimes. But that really is going to be the end of it. Oops. That is not what I wanted to have. Spell or creature? Let's see what happens when that gets sent back. Nothing. As far as artifacts, it just de-equips it. So yeah, Steam's wishlist cleanup still needs to go forward, even if it doesn't really matter. And like, I need to do a little bit of work on the Steam Summer Sale stuff. It has been a very uneventful summer sale. It seems like every year since I started covering the summer sales, it has become more and more of a situation where there's less emphasis and focus on things like that. See. Okay, what? Discard Water Wakes. Look at the top 2 cards in your library. Put one of them into your hand and the other into the graveyard. Interesting. So this has an ability that you can activate apparently, even from your hand. That's weird. That is definitely weird. Yeah, and I guess what I need to do is I need to wrap up 7 billion humans. I'm fairly close, and I'm gonna probably skip things, and I'm probably going to in the next recording have answer website open so that I know. I know what the solutions would be. So we have a 1/1. We have this. We'll just block with that. And gets rid of one guy, but for the price of a lot of damage. Interesting move. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's see, can't be blocked. Alright, what do we want to get rid of? Get rid of that. And then still can't summon that one. We can start upping up that part. I honestly don't think this is a bad draft, even though I very well may lose here. So let's see, what can we do? We can block that, certainly, and we can block that, and that's not a big deal. That's gonna get me down to 2. We've got a draw. Destroy target artifact. I really like that, but I don't know if that's gonna help me any. Let's go ahead and get rid of that. And then destroy target artifact. Get that down. And choose one. And we're gonna lose here, but maybe not as bad as it seems. Okay. Take action. We'll go ahead and get rid of that. We'll go ahead and play that. And we'll go ahead and draw. And then now we've got a really buffed up character at 9 with trample. So we're actually doing pretty well. Return target permanent card from the graveyard to your hand if a creature died this turn. It create 2 1/1 creatures. Oh, I think he just killed us. That and that. He just won the game because of that. I let my life get too low. So that was 1 loss. We're hoping for, I guess, a quick disconnect, or 3 or 7. That any amount would be appreciated. I'd like to be able to not walk out here with just 50 gems. Throw me a bone. I actually did try this time really hard. This was very much less rare drafting and more trying to actually win. Maybe I have slightly too many lands in this case. But there's so many draw and discard cards anyways. Let's see. We have a game on Steam here called Darn Was That What Was Yesterday. which looks like it's probably a troll game for 84 cents. And we really are going to be just scraping the bottom of the barrel. It was July 4th weekend, so it does make a lot of sense that there wasn't a lot of news. Nobody's going to really bother to put out announcements, and even if you did put out announcements, that there's not a lot going on. So yeah, the journalists and the announcement people and the PR people were probably took the weekend off. We have some reiterances or continuations of the Me Too drama. Ubisoft's executive Maxine Belland is resigned after sexual harassment and assault allegations. So, like, on the Ubisoft front, either the same story has come out multiple times about the same person, or it does seem like 2 or 3 people have just immediately resigned, which does lead some credibility to it. But also, I don't know, on Ubisoft's case, if any of the CEOs or people really cared to stay working there, they'd been fighting so hard about to keep from the hostile takeover, and so maybe they're just tired of dealing with BS, or maybe it's all true. Both are possibilities, certainly. I don't even care to go any further in that story. Like, moving on, we have a game on Steam called Monster Logic, which looks like it is a kind of puzzle programming game of some sort, walking in loops, telling the monsters to walk in certain loops. Looks like it might be like a Chinese game. $8.99, English, French, Chinese, German, Japanese. It doesn't inherently look as bad as a cheap Chinese game though, so I'll put it on the follow list and give it a chance. Let's play that. Gamatsu has an article here. Square Enix trademarks Live Alive in Australia, which looks like it's some kind of RPG game, or perhaps several RPG games in a bundle. Live Alive is an RPG released for the Super Famicom in September 1994, and as well as the directorial debut of Chrono Trigger director Takashi Tokita. So, yeah, it looks like maybe an old RPG game is getting a re-release, maybe even a remaster. I bet it's probably just a re-release if I was to guess, though. Let's see. It should work fairly well. This one should get on the field as quickly as possible so we can buff it up. Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam called Pancake House, which looks like a zombie first-person shooter game. I can't immediately call it an asset flip game, though. It does require VR. It's $14.99. So I'll put it on the follow list and see if people like it. It kind of looks a little asset flippy, but also it doesn't look terrible. These don't look like really awful zombies, and in VR, there is definitely a question about playing a VR game in general that is a zombie shooter horror game. I don't know if that wouldn't just terrify a lot of people to the point where they wouldn't want to play that kind of game. There probably is, I would imagine, 10 to 20% of video game players that already don't want to play horror games or games with zombies in it if the zombies aren't very cartoony and like not scary at all. If you put that into VR, I wouldn't be surprised if it gets up to 40% of players in general just don't want to play that kind of game. Also, I've been awakening and sleeping, so it's such awkward names. I'm starting to drop the ball on my favorite cell phone game, Destiny Child, a little bit, which they're about to wrap up their most recent event, and so there is there's work to be done still, but there isn't a lot of new things happening at the moment. But the most recent event was very good. It's just I kind of burned out on the story part of it on day one, and now it's just kind of repetitiveness. But I really couldn't figure that I'd give up on it because I'm so far into it, and I really am approaching the end game phase of it, in which I'll just have all the characters at max level, and I'll be just building up resources to get 6 copies of every new character as every new character comes out. Moving on with the news, Game Master has a Switch article here. Everyday Today's menu for the EMEA family is coming to North America. This is the Fate crossover game, Fate Stay Night cooking game. Apparently it is coming to the West, which that does seem a little weird. It's coming to the West, but not super weird. Okay. Take action, and then decide what we want to get rid of. Go ahead and put this on the field. Put this there. And in the turn. Now we have trample. So if I can get this guy very high, I could have him attack this guy with this much damage with this card and do a lot of damage. Although this guy is buffing up his health, so there might be some problems with that. Go ahead and get rid of one of those. And go ahead and put this on the field. And this. Yeah, I could toss this card too later on. Let's see. Gamatsu has an article here. The slice of life visual novel Please Be Happy has been announced for the Switch and PC, due out in 2020. Seems to be some slightly moe anime girls, and quite diverse here. You have a what looks like a human-eared tea serving waitress, and then you have what looks more like a cat ear, or maybe even a cow-eared anime girl. This art style's a little rough. Then you have a dark-skinned human-eared lady. So that is a bit diverse, and normally I wouldn't bother to but yeah, if you can beat that, you deserve to win. Does this one have flying? Like, if this one card can do something amazing, I'll be surprised. Well, that sucked, but that's hardly a problem. Let's see. Toss that. Okay. Here we have 10. What can we get? +1, +1. Let's see. Interesting. That didn't do any trample damage, though. And so we are in a position where we could potentially lose. This one doesn't get a counter, nor does this one. Yeah, normally I wouldn't bother to watch the video, but I'll watch this. This is from Sakai Games, and it does seem like it's I'm seeing some girl-on-girl kissing. Someone kissing the cowgirl. So, slice of life depending on what kind of life you live. But that seems to be about it. 2 heroine roots with 2 happy endings each. And maybe a shorter than normal experience. Tap a card. Yeah, I think I just lost. Darn it. But I didn't have enough. Because these flying guys... Yeah. Yeah, I just lost. Darn it. I should have played more aggressively and just attacked. Well... Would have been nice to make it up to bronze tier level 3. And it certainly would be ideal to get one more victory at least. Instead of 100, let's get 250 gems. If we could get up to 3 victories to get 1,000 gems, that'd be great. It's probably asking more than is reasonable to get above 3 victories. Next we have a game on Steam called Tomorrow Won't Come for Those Without, and then this block of a animation, like an emoji. It's a weird looking game. It definitely looks like it was drawn and done by one person. This is kind of an interesting art style. I don't know if this art style plays in a video game, but it is different. This is $1.79. It's called Futuristic Post-Religion Questionable Hotel Service Celestial Crime. It's English, Russian, and Korean. This is probably a low effort Russian game, but I'd like to see what the reception is on this, if anybody ever actually plays it, because this art style definitely could be the beginning of something different, and the beginning of something different is always something that could be appreciated. Probably should have mulliganed in that case. I'm gonna potentially play 3 or 4 turns before I can even play a card. Let's see. Go ahead and play this, and then do this, and then we can start to, in the next turn, play this. Sweet. Perfect. Look at that. We got bronze tier 3. If we could even get up a couple of tiers, there is this hope and chance that we would next month start at a higher tier, and that higher tier would potentially help us just have a better experience of getting rewards. Although I'm not sure if you get different rewards compared to ranked, because I'm at like platinum tier on ranked, and I probably do need to play a lot more ranked going forward this month, but I'm not sure if that platinum tier on ranked doesn't just supersede a bronze tier on constructed, and you don't get double rewards, you just get the highest of the two. It would be somewhat nice if that was the case, so that you weren't constantly having to struggle between both playing ranked and playing drafts. Apparently the creator of Magic the Gathering saw everybody playing drafts, and he only wanted people to play drafts. That was his way. But it is fairly obvious that for Magic to be as successful as it was, it did kind of have to constantly create different ways of playing with the same cards. And that's actually a good idea and a good thing, because it goes to show that the cards themselves are robust enough, I think would be the right word, that they can be used in multiple different gameplay styles and still make sense and work. Let's see. That probably is not one to mess with. Just put that on the field. Next, we have a game on Steam called Atom Lost Memories. I feel like there was another game called Atom, but then it just could be that the word Atom is recognizable. It does look like a horror game. It does look polished enough to not just be immediately dismissed as a low-effort asset flip horror game. $10.49. English, allegedly full audio, third-party EULA. That looks good enough to deserve a follow. Alright. 1-1. I need something. I'm gonna quickly lose here. Unless we just get a disconnect. Like, this guy's gonna do 8 damage, potentially. And see, like, almost certainly he has something. Yeah, that's what I figured. So I could play this. Take that. I can do that. And then I'll just lose. So yeah, we've lost here. There's no way we're gonna not lose here. Unless this one just chose to absolutely not attack. And then I could have blocked that one. That could have given me one more turn. One more turn that probably wouldn't have helped anything. I may very well have just overfilled the amount of lands in the deck. Like playing drafts with those smaller decks. But we got 250 gems and 2 packs, and that is definitely not anything to scoff at. That did work fairly well for us. Plus we got a bunch more rare draft cards. And now we have another rare card we can craft. And I think in general, ever since we started playing Magic, we did fairly well by sitting on most of the wild cards until the core set came out and using that to our advantage. So we can see we're continuing to make progress, and we're trying to get to a point where we have like 4 of everything in the core set. That way we can open packs from the core set, which will undoubtedly continue to occur for a long time, and those packs will give us gems. That is the idea, at least. And yeah, we filled it out fairly well. One rare that we've not collected from the core set would be lands. So let's then expand that to these sets. And let's think about, what do we really want? Do we have a planeswalker? Because if we have a planeswalker, we probably should play that. Otherwise, a commander card would also be a decent argument. Let's see. Yeah, let's craft that. And the game seems like it's locked up. It's going to take a while to think about that. Let's see if that works, or if we're going to have to crash the whole thing. Meanwhile, Gamatsu has an article. MX versus ATV All Out is coming to the Switch on September 1st. So it's a THQ Nordic racing game. Yep. It does seem like Magic has just crashed. Okay, we'll relaunch Magic. Tech Raptor has an article. The Xbox Game Showcase is coming on July 23rd. So we effectively have a couple of weeks before we have any more Xbox announcements. It being labeled the Game Showcase, one assumes that we're not going to do a lot of so here, do we want to go back here and see if we crafted that? Let's see. Not collected. This, and this. We must have crafted it because we don't have the wild card anymore. Alright, so then we just need to play with our red test deck and play some red cards. Yep. So I imagine the Xbox Game Showcase is going to just try and trump the PlayStation games showcase that last happened, and it's just going to be a tit for tat presentation of games for their next consoles, trying to build up hype but while staying somewhat realistic in the current economic times, and realizing that a lot of people are just not going to buy these on day one. There might be a scenario, certainly, where people are stuck in their houses and they're bored out of their minds. I think that is definitely happening for a lot of people, including maybe even me a little bit, but probably not to a great extent. But do you have people that are unemployed and have less income jump over that mental leap that says, just screw it, I'm gonna go run up a credit card and buy a highly expensive new console? That seems unrealistic in most scenarios. Gamatsu has an article here. Shadow Warrior 3 has been announced for PC. Fast-paced gunplay, melee combat, and free-running movement. And this looks like this might be a new protagonist. Shadow Warrior has definitely been one of those games that I have kind of slept on. In part, that is because like the first Shadow Warrior game, I believe, came out and wasn't super popular, and then it became kind of a cult hit, and then many years later Shadow Warrior 2 came out, and then it's probably been somewhere around 4 to 5 years since Shadow Warrior 2 came out. And this definitely does look like a very different game from what the previous Shadow Warrior games looked like, because previous Shadow Warrior games were in much more urban environments, from what I recall. I could be wrong about that, definitely. Let's see. As a follow-up to the story, Gamma Sutra has the Evo co-founder and CEO Joey Cellular removed after sexual abuse allegations. From what I heard, I did delve deep a little bit further into those accusations, and from what I heard, he was, you could generously say he was a troll, and but that would be probably more generous than the accusations seem to imply he deserves. It seems like he definitely was either jokingly or in actuality asking underage boys for like nude shots and things like that. And I could certainly see a 4chan troll type person doing a bunch of jokes like that and not really meaning anything from it, and then in this new cancel culture that coming back and biting people in the butt. Certainly an edgy, like 14-year-old would definitely make those kind of sexual jokes, and perhaps he had the mentality of an edgy 14-year-old a lot when he wasn't actually 14, or maybe he is just straight up a predator. That is definitely a possibility too. I don't know where the abuse part of that comes from. What I saw, and I am still trying to stay very much away from saying any of these things until there's actual like complaints filed, at least like legal proceedings happen. Yeah, I kind of have to question where that this wasn't more of a solicitation, whether it was a joke or not, and so I'm still a little uncertain where the abuse parts comes. That is definitely with a lot of these Me Too cancer culture accusations an issue, is that the claims get misconstrued and exaggerated quite a lot. Or at least it seems like that definitely happens. We have a weird story from TechRaptor. The LA Noire developers are working with Rockstar on a AAA open world VR game, which is interesting, but it's probably more interesting to say that the people who worked on LA Noire have been sorely underused. The only thing they did is take LA Noire and put it into VR a couple years ago, and then they've been completely absent as far as actually making video games. They probably were working on just GTA Online, and with Rockstar, everything does seem to just boil down to, let's just have that online casino on GTA Online and have it print money for us. It definitely feels like Rockstar and the companies that it acquired and integrated into Rockstar has just become extremely complacent and not made much of anything. And that is even knowing that they made the Red Dead game. That still has failed to interest me. Let's see. Exile 3 cards, creature cards exiled. You may cast this from exile, so all of those weren't creature cards. Great. That sucks. Remember, all I need to do right now is play red cards. There is this game on Steam that is going to come out called The Dungeon of Nihilbeck, the Amulet of Chaos. I don't know how you pronounce that. And it's got this little fairy girl, and it is being voiced, the fairy, by Felicia Day, who has been kind of this sad story of mediocre success and not really any success in Hollywood. She allegedly was one of the founders of Geek and Sundry. Not really, though, because it was secretly, and it eventually got revealed that it was Lionsgate, or a subsidiary of Lionsgate, that made Geek and Sundry, so there was a whole production company behind it. And in all fairness, anything that's even slightly successful probably does have a major production company behind its success. And we definitely have seen we definitely have seen instances where major production companies have just kind of given up on channels. And there was a channel called Gidden the Robot that covered anime that literally the company behind it just fired all the production team and the editors and things, and so they couldn't continue. I think that's the story I heard. Felicia Day made a couple episodes in Supernatural. She has a couple of web episodes. She's in a couple of web shows that her friends have made. There's one I think called Mythic Quest that's on Netflix that is kind of funny on the first watch, but I wasn't able to actually sit through it in the second watch, and I'm not sure I actually sat through it in the first one. She seems to constantly play a fairy, often a sexually promiscuous, dirty, foul-mouthed fairy or character. Uh, she is kind of the same character over and over again, and she never really gets anywhere. She was definitely working with the yeah, she's definitely worked with some famous people and not really succeeded by working with them, so maybe she's just hard to get along with, or maybe it is just a side note. She's kind of like a slightly more successful than Sarah Underwood, who was the hostess on Attack of the Show 10-20 years ago, who has most recently, I saw just the other day, has now devolved from doing slave Leia costumes that were just lewd into straight up doing topless cosplay. So it seems like as she's getting older and her star is falling, she's potentially getting more dangerous. I believe she was a Playboy model in the first place, though, so it's not really out of her career path to do that. But she was more notable for a very long time, only doing lewds. But you know, the whole OnlyFans thing has certainly probably pushed a lot of cosplayers who were doing cosplay just to get geek simps to pay them attention and pay them money. That has really changed, and the phrase simp has been invented since that. And it's a hard argument to say cosplay should be only done for the love of the character you're actually embodying, or for the love of the fashion, or for even the love of the attention, because it really has never been that case. There's always been people, cosplayers, who don't know what costume they're even wearing or what character they're trying to embody. There's always been cosplayers who are really just trying to do it to gain a following and get money in some point. So yeah, this is coming out, if that interests anybody, with Felicia Day voicing it. I don't know if her voice is even particularly that interesting. This is on my follow list. We'll see. We'll see what people have to say about it. Dear Villagers, I believe, have published some other things that might be of some relevance. Let's see, Scourgebringer, they're going to release The Forgotten City. It would be a lot more interesting if Felicia Day was in The Forgotten City, because that's a game that has a lot of hype around it also. But yeah, you can see Dear Villagers not putting out a lot of things. Dead in Vineland. Last time I saw Felicia Day on YouTube or streaming or anything, she basically had just moved everything to her own channel, and she'd barely put anything up there. She was trying to prompt up her brother as being a video game streamer and playing with her, which, yeah, that didn't really work. Let's see. We already talked about the standard metagame challenge. That is way too expensive. I kind of wish I could play it, but I would feel like I would definitely not get my money's worth doing that. Moving on, Gamasutra has an article. Animoca Brands raises $4.1 million ahead of a proposed initial public offering. I don't know this company, but by the name, it seems like it's some anime mobile phone game publisher. Let's see. Crazy Defense Heroes and Beat Quest developers. Apparently. Yeah. Haven't heard of either one of those. Two damage to any target. TechRaptor has an article here. A game called... Oh, no, we already talked about this. Carto and Haven PS4 release. I just left this open. Was there a real reason why I left it open? Like, Haven could be on my wish list, but it's a game that's not out yet, so I don't really want it on my wish list. I definitely need to do a wish list cleanup at some point in the next 6 months that just doubles down on the idea of reducing, like, just reducing the vast amount of games on the wish list that are not even out yet. And finally, Gamasutra has an article. Zynga acquires the Toon Blast developer Peak for $1.85 billion. It's not surprising that Zynga would acquire somebody. It may not be inherently the best move, but it does not super surprise me. Target artifact. This is an aura. 3 damage to any. Let's see. This is a creature. 3 damage there. And then we'll scry. Yeah, that seems like that's a good card. Keep. And that literally is all the news. So, for that reason, and since we've only been going, I like winning, so I'm going to say yes. I'm going to look at my wish list, and we're going to do 1, maybe even 2 letters on the wish list. So let's drag. We were at O, I believe. We may have done all of the O's. And we're going to keep on playing, because over here we still have plenty of red cards that need to play. If I get this one done and play 9 more red cards, then I can play black, and then I can play ranked. Clearly I need more victories, and want more victories, but that's about it. And then after we do a couple letters of the wish list to do some wish list cleanup, we'll just I'll double check my Twitter feed to see if any new news has come out, and then we'll look at the Humble Bundle just to see if there's any new Humble Bundle. Again, July 4th weekend. So probably nothing new there. And I have basically nothing to say about July 4th other than the fireworks. People setting off fireworks did definitely keep me awake and irritate me. Definitely not helpful for somebody who has insomnia to have any special day a year in which people are dedicated to making a lot of noise. Let's see, so I think we did O. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything super wrong. This game, like OmniLink, maybe justifies looking at it again, and then Omnibus maybe, but it's hard to remove something that's like $1.24 anyways. Yeah, we did. Oh, I really wish I did have Opus Magnum, because that would be a great game to play after playing 7 Billion Humans and just compare it and say, look how much better you can make this game if you just obscure the programming part and make it into more of a puzzle game, or if you just put your own spin on it. instead of basically just trying to copy what is already in existence as far as okay, 1 damage to each opponent. Attack. Alright, so we're at the P's. We have Pac-Man 256, Pac-Man Museum, Pac-Man Ghostly Adventures. Each relevant enough. We have Painkiller, Hell and Damnation, which is the HD version of Painkiller. And then Painkiller Redemption, and then Painkiller Black Edition, which I don't know if the Black Edition of Painkiller isn't just a older version of Painkiller, Hell and Damnation, and I don't know if Redemption is a sequel, so all that needs to be looked at. And then you have like Recurring Evil and Resurrection, and you have a large collection of Painkiller games here that aren't that expensive right now because they're on sale, but honestly there may really only be enough relevance here for the idea of there really may only be enough relevance there to play the good Painkiller game and not the rest of them. Let's see. Next we have a game called Paint It Back. Panpuka. Panty Party at $3.39. That is the right price for that game. It might also be fairly playable on YouTube. Like right now, YouTube's not being particularly nasty or proactive about about content ID claims and things like that, because everybody is just at home instead of working from the offices. So now would be a decent time to try and air and sneak in some slightly more mature content. And YouTube TV raised its prices, so now it's like one of the most expensive cable alternatives. In fact, I think it's like $69 a month, so you'd be better off getting actual cable service at that point. It would be nice if there was just a general lack of advertising dollars, and that somehow did lead to the idea of YouTube being able to maintain itself as a business without also having to be so focused as far as pleasing advertisers and making content that's family friendly or advertiser friendly. But I don't know how that happens. Like you basically have to get to a post-scarcity world at that point, or a post-capitalist society at that point. Let's see. Papa and Yo, a story about abuse. So it's going to be a tough game, but it's a game that is artistically important enough that I think you should play it. Paradise Cleaning looks like it's an adult game, but it's overwhelmingly positive. Parkitect, $22.49. I could see myself never buying that. Here we have Path of Exile. I believe someone was asking me about that. Apparently I already have it. Well, why would a game I already have be on the wish list? What am I trying to do? Deal 1 damage to any target. Well, fine, deal that. We also have a game here that's mixed called Path of Sorama that apparently I either own or is just free now. There's 3 different games called Path. This Path of Menician is $1.98. That's a good price. This is a relatively new game too, and that's about what it should be. It would have been nice, frankly, after the sale to have some extra cash laying around and look at things from that perspective. But yeah, it's not surprising that that didn't happen. You know what, I could probably have just won. Let's see if I did. Well, I think I've probably just won anyways, but if I had just done 2 damage there, I would have known that I was gonna win. Yeah, we may get to the point where next summer sale I just put $100 on my account, and then there is $20 or $30 worth of credit that I just don't spend until I go down my wish list. Really what this goes to show is that I just didn't bother to go down my wish list as thoroughly as I normally would. Here's that game, PC Building Simulator. I still want this to work. $11.99 isn't too expensive. I still think that there's probably a lot more polish that could be put to this game. Even if they made like a sequel to it, would be fairly acceptable. Just PC Building Simulator 2 with twice as many brands and computer components and twice as many mechanics and understanding. Like there really should be a lot of branding money that goes into a game like that. So like I wouldn't ideally, and normally I wouldn't suggest this for a video game, ideally you'd want to see PC Building Simulator be bought, the developers of them be bought and hired by Amazon.com so that they make this game as both a game with some gameplay elements, but then they also take that technology and put it in the back end of buying computer components and building a PC on Amazon.com. And you really, ideally, you wouldn't want Amazon.com to do that, but who else is going to do that? Walmart? Like, probably not. I don't know of any other. Best Buy? Yeah, Best Buy could do something like that, and they'd probably be the only company that's big enough to actually be able to fund that, and small enough to not make it feel like you're just funding a monopoly. But yeah, I would like to see like all the computer component brands potentially throw some money and some support towards PC Building Simulator to make it a very accurate and very helpful simulator, because there's definitely a lot of people that are scared to build a PC, and it's never been an easier time to build a PC, frankly, but people are still definitely terrified that they're going to manage to break their $1,000 PC component, and certainly that can happen, so the fear is somewhat justified. Let's see, play this. And let's go ahead and activate the ability, I guess. And go ahead and do this. Then end the turn. Oh wait, we can do no attacks. Can we activate that again? Yeah. So we can activate that a couple times. Let's see, what else do we have under P? The Penny Arcade game, $2, not discounted for part 3. $2, not discounted for part 4. Maybe I own part 1 and part 2. There's a very low argument at this point that the Penny Arcade group is popular enough or relevant enough 8 years later to actually be justifiable. Perception here, I did see this was $1.99 and I thought about buying it, but being a game where you're blind definitely is a harder sell. Here we got one called Perdition. This probably is a student project, but I should double check. Peregrine looks like a point and click adventure. Perils of Man. Persona 4 Golden, overwhelmingly positive. Still not sure if you could stream that. That is the one thing I have not seen anybody actually try and stream this on YouTube. So either everybody's getting caught and getting content ID claimed, or nobody cares. Either way, that's kind of a nail in the coffin. Number of instant sorcery cards in your graveyard. Let's activate this first. Let's see. Just keep on doing damage. Here we have a game called Perspective that looks like a student project. I need to double check that to see if that's worth it. Here we have Pewdiepie Legend of the Brofist, which, yeah, there's like 2 or 3 Pewdiepie games, some of which are only cell phone games. So it's questionable, the relevancy there. Phantom Brave PC for $3.74 is a great deal, whereas Phantom Doctrine for $39.99 is a terrible deal. Here we have Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Trilogy. I'd love to play that. It's the Professor Layton games, I believe, that aren't on Steam yet, but might come to Steam at some point, or PC at some point. Keep on cycling. Okay. Don't think I can do anything more. Here we have a game called Photographs. I believe this is a cell phone game. It came to like PC slightly before it came to cell phones, I believe. But it's more cell phone centric. $5.99 makes it a little too expensive. PictoPix. I think I'd be willing to play one PictoChat or Picross type game, not PictoChat. And this probably is the one I've chosen so far. Pilot Brothers is a point and click adventure series, which the first one's very positive, the second one is positive, and the third one's mixed, but they're 99 cents each, so spending $3 for 3 games, as long as they're not extremely short, it's not a problem. This Pizza Frenzy Delivery Deluxe, I don't think I'd probably play that. And then this one called Pizza Game looks more like a visual novel than anything. And then Pizza Titan Ultra is a joke pizza delivery game. Let's see, we have Planescape Tournament Enhanced Edition for $9.99. Planet Coaster. Again, I'm not sure I'd want to play roller coaster games. But Planet Coaster does look more modern and more visually interesting. Planet of the Apes: Last Frontier is mixed reviews, and it's a TV tie-in, a game tie-in for a movie that nobody cares about, so that almost certainly could be removed. Plasticity. Why is that not got a price on it? Plug and Play is a weirdo game for $1.49. That's about right. Then New Umbra Breath of Life. I should think about removing that at $19.99. Polybridge and Polybridge 2. Polybridge 1 is $1.49, so that's very reasonable, whereas Polybridge 2 is $14.99, and that's fairly unreasonable. There are, I imagine, several other I imagine there are several other bridge construction games out there, and not a lot of reason to bother with a lot of that. I should play just one of these games and show what they all are, because there's not a lot of variety in bridge construction games. Pool Panic is a digital devolver joke game. Poppy's Nightmare looks like a student project. Postal 2, Postal 3 mostly negative, and Postal Redux. Getting Postal Redux for $1.43 is not terrible. Postal 2 for 99 cents is not terrible, and Postal 3 for $2.39 is not terrible. There is some small relevance to the Postal series as a game where you go postal, which is not even a phrase anybody uses anymore because the post office is pretty much dead, and the stereotype has shifted from postmen going crazy and shooting up the place to edgy teenagers going crazy and shooting up the place, and that wouldn't work too well. Here we can see that the first 2 episodes of the Rank Slip Precipice of Darkness is just labeled as Precipice of Darkness as far as the name, and they are selling for $7.99 each, so it would be very expensive to actually cover this, so I should probably think about just removing it. Also, it's an RPG game. And in a weird way, I really would be more interested in playing this pre-dynastic Egypt game, which is just has no relevance whatsoever, but is different than to play something that's way more relevant, but is a lot more expensive and is a long-running RPG. Prey, absolutely, that should be at the top tier of games I want to play. Here we have Princess Evangel All Ages version for $20.99, and then we have Princess Maker Fairy Tales Come True HD remake, which I believe is the 4th game in the series. Princess Maker 2 Refine, which is a remake of Princess Maker 2 for $9.99. That's about the best price you're going to get. Princess Maker 5 though is $17.99, and Princess Maker Go-Go is $8.99, and Princess Maker Refine, which is the remake of the first game, is $4.99. That's a pretty decent game. Although Princess Maker 2 is the only one that I've really had any real experience with, and so it would be the only one I have any real nostalgia for. Oops, I think I just passed. Well, I shouldn't have. Yep. It would be very hard to cover the Princess Maker series. I would probably just spotlight them. There are games I want to own to support the fact that they actually came out on PC, but that's pretty much all I can say about them. They're hard games to play, and they never really got to a level of polish or evolution, and they never became popular enough that other people made other games. There's like one spin-off game that is right now out on Steam, but ideally you would have thought that there would have been a whole slew of daughter raising simulator games if that was a successful concept. And I certainly can see why it's not a successful concept. Like, that raising a child is effectively the equivalent of doing a real world job, and any game with a real world job is going to have, in my mind, a very limited appeal and not be entertaining. There we go. Quick disconnects. Love those quick disconnects. Yeah, if only I could figure out a way to ensure that I get quick disconnects and win. And just cheat it completely. Let's see. We have a color game called Prismatic. Project Eagle, an interactive Mars based. We should look at that. Project Hospital, which I think is different from the 2 Points Hospital game that came out. So there might be 2 hospital games out there. I guess it really wouldn't kill me to play 2 of that. Here we have early access game called Project Nightmares from 2018. Project Nightmare, Case 36, Henrietta Kedward. It's still early access though. Here we have one called Project Cinco. A lot of games with project in the name. Project Temporality for 224. Project Warlock. Projector Face. Protocol for $12.99. That's mixed. I feel like I've heard of a game called Protocol, but I don't recall it. Side Bay. We have Psychopaths Mandatory Happiness, which Psychopaths as an anime is fairly old now, like 3 years old. They had like maybe a movie and then a second season made by a different team, so it's like a 1 season anime that was very popular for a brief time there, but from a Japanese perspective, I imagine most people have completely forgotten about it, because they definitely forget about series very quickly and move on to the next thing. So I don't think there's a lot of relevancy here, but I kind of would love to talk about Psychopaths, and so I'm kind of making an exception to keep that on the wish list. Psychonauts. I definitely should play Psychonauts, although In the Rhombus of Ruin might be the VR Psychonauts game that is like the spin-off kind of demo. We have a game called Pummel Party, which looks like it might be a player versus player game, so I should look at that because I'm never going to be able to cover that. And here we have a game called Punchline, which is mixed. This is the one where you play as a ghost and you're running around like trying to collect the panties of the anime girls, I believe. And it's mixed, so at $19.99 that definitely should be reconsidered to be removed. Even if it is very pretty in the animation, I don't even think was an anime around it. So if I'm going one way and trying to play a lewd adult game with sexual innuendo and comedy, I could do that better with better visual novels games, or Panty Party, or the one where you shoot hearts at the anime girls, or a Keeper Strip. There's several other games that aren't mixed in their reviews that have that same general idea, and it definitely would be just another game that would be hard to get on this YouTube without getting a content strike. Here we have Puyo Puyo Champions and Puyo Puyo Tetris. Both $4.99 is not terrible, but $11.99 is a little too high. Puzzle Quest for $5.99. I do want to cover the first Puzzle Quest, but there's, I believe, several other Puzzle Quests. Pyre. Then that brings us to Q, and yeah, let's just keep on going. Quadrilateral Cowboy is a programming game that is probably a little bit too straight of a programming game. And this is just a 99 cents like puzzle game. Quake 2, both $1.49. Quake 3, $4.99, $4.49. Quake 4, $4.49. Quake Live, $2.99, and then a mission pack for $1.49. So I could spend about $10 just to get all the Quake games. Quantum Break. At some point, I'd like to get this. $9.99 is about the max I'd want to pay for it. Queen's Quest. Looks like it might be a hidden object series. So, yeah, I think I could probably remove all the Queen's Quest games because I was keeping a collection of these on my wish list, but honestly, any hidden object game, there's nothing more that I can think of to say about them. That if you play 2 or 3 of them, you've played them all. And they're not, yeah, don't really even have anything else to say about them otherwise. This game Quell Zin, I need to look at to see if there's a whole bunch of Quell games. Here we have a game called Quest for Papa Reloaded, which might be a student project. Quest for Infamy, Quiplash, R-Type, Dimensions, Rabby, Race the Sun. Race the Sun's would be a hard game to justify because it is kind of just an infinite flying game, and it did have some popularity on YouTube for a brief moment there. Let's see. We have Rogers World 1, which this might be a demo. Radical Dungeon Sweeper. I'd be willing to play something that has a interesting new twist on Dungeon Sweeper. Let's see. I want to put this here and this here, and then go ahead and attack. See, we have Rainblood Chronicles Mirage, which I need to investigate that to see if there's more games in this Chronicles or if it's just the first game in the series that went nowhere. That doesn't inherently eliminate it, but it should inform my decision more. Rakuin, which is like a JRPG that's overwhelmingly possible. This game, Raptor Call of the Shadows. I played this back on Windows 95 days, and I remember it. So for $1.99, just a nostalgia trip is not a terrible idea. Couple Rayman games, Rayman Legends, Rayman Origins. Nothing special. Receiver was the gun mechanic game. I believe they made a sequel to this that recently came out. So I should look and see what the sequel is doing. Here we have a game called Reciteer, an Item Shop's Tale, for $3.99. There might be other games that overlap on this idea of a JRPG where you're running an item shop, so I need to double check on that. We have Record of the Argus War, Marriage, Record of the Lotus War, Deed Lit and Wonder Labyrinth, which that's early access and not that new. We have a game called Red Comrades 2 and Red Comrades 3. I don't recall any of these, but they look like it's a point-and-click adventure game. Red Dead Redemption 2, sure. If somebody wants to gift that to me, I'm more than happy to play that. And I will say, there is a lot easier of justification to play Red Dead Redemption 2 than playing, like, if somebody gifted me the Fallout 3 full Game of the Year version, because I either own or have wishlisted Fallout 1, 2, and New Vegas also, and someone has gifted me the main part of Fallout 4, but I still want to buy the DLC, and I don't know when I'd ever justify doing that. But it is a lot harder to think about, well, how am I going to end up playing all the Fallout games which are available for me to play on PC compared to Red Dead Redemption 2, where where only Red Dead Redemption 2 is on PC, and it's kind of unhighly likely that the 2 previous Red Dead games come out on PC, so you're in this kind of nice position where you could just skip to it. Also, I believe Red Dead Redemption 2 is sort of just a prequel to the Red Dead Redemption 1, so you're not even in a bad position from that perspective. As far as playing the game, because you could play Red Dead Redemption 2 and then go play any future potential remaster release of Red Dead Redemption 1 on PC if it comes out, if something like that came out on PC, which I just don't think Rockstar's going to do that. If they were going to do it, they should have done it before they released the sequel. And we're doing good on victories, but I am starting to get a little uncomfortable in my chair. And so I think what we'll do is we'll play one more game and we'll finish the R's, because S's will probably be fairly long, and then that will be the end of the stream. So what else have we got that starts with R? Remothered Tormented Fathers. I don't know if this is the first remothered game, or if there's 2 remothered, or if they just changed the title. We have a game called Replica. Republic is the stealth game where you're kind of controlling the character through commands, I believe. And at $4.99, it's alright, but very often in the past it's been a little too expensive to justify the price. In all fairness, we may have just hit a point though where I've gotten all the cheap games, and so now I'm willing to spend a little bit more money on a little bit lower quality games. My standards in general may have just lowered. Yeah, so I'm either willing to pay more for less quality, or buy buy more for the same quality, or buy less for the same quality. Let's see. Here we have another game called Rosetta's Prescription Book of Memory, which I think is also like a shopkeeping game. Either that or it's a point and click RPG game that's like flat and 2D. So I'll have to do some more investigation there. Of course, I'm doing all of this investigation off screen. I literally have more tabs open now than I did when I started today. And that gets us into the Resident Evil games, which ideally the Resident Evil remake I'd like to own for $5. That's fine. Resident Evil 0 I'd like to own. I'd like to be able to just kind of go through them all. Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3, Resident Evil 7 is $10, but in reality, once you get all the DLC, it's going to be more. Resident Evil 3 for $39 is too expensive, and Resident Evil 2 for $20, probably without any DLC, is a little too expensive. The Operation Raccoon City isn't well received, and it's not part of this new reboot canon, so it could be skipped fairly easily. But there is also just a bundle to buy all the Resident Evil games. This is kind of the problem though with Capcom and Resident Evil games in general, is that you are kind of constantly just giving money to them regardless of whether they're giving you a good product or not. And they have decided to be a little bit better about it, but it still has been a bit of a journey. Resonance of Fate End of Eternity. This was a re-release of an old game that was a JRPG. I don't know if it has very much relevancy, but it is $24.49, and it's rated very positively. Then you have the Rethink puzzle games, which there are Rethink games, and then there are Rethink Evolved games. RetroArch is free, and all the cores are free. I need to just add that to my wish list at some point and start making some adjustments. Like the thing about RetroArch in particular is that there are a decent number of old games you could have directly bought on Steam that just have the ROMs in them and the files in them that you need to then use RetroArch to play those games using RetroArch and those emulators, the emulator cores inside of RetroArch, instead of whatever emulator or wrapper program that automatically launches for the version of the game you bought on Steam. It's a niche usage though, for sure. If somebody buys a game on Steam, they're just going to click the play button, and they're not going to try and spend an extra hour figuring out what's the best way I can emulate this old game to play it better. But it is certainly interesting and nice to see that RetroArch is on Steam now, because that's just one less program that you would have to go out and find somewhere else or forget that you had installed. I guess I'd like to see ScumVM do the same. I don't see a real reason why they couldn't do that. And that would be a nice way to keep things updated and all in one place. Next we have Return of the Obra Dinn for $14.99. This is overwhelmingly positive, so I still definitely want to play it, even though the secret has definitely been spoiled at this point for anybody who was interested. $14.99 is a little expensive. Here we have Return of Mystery Island and Mystery Island 2. I want to double check this to make sure this isn't a hidden object game series, but it kind of looks like it is a single A tier adventure game. Return to Zork. This would be a very hard game for me to play. I'd almost certainly play any of the Zork games in using a walkthrough, because it's just super complicated and losable, I believe. So if you don't follow a walkthrough and do things in the right order, you can lose the game, which I definitely wouldn't want that frustration. We have Reversion, the first chapter, for 59 cents, and then you have the second chapter for $1.98. So I want to double check and see if this series is done since it came out in 2014, or if this is a game series that never ended. Then you have RHEM, RHEM, which is a attempt at making a Myst game from someone who didn't make the Myst game series. You can see first special edition, the second special edition, and the fourth special edition. So what happened to the third special edition? Maybe I already bought it. $5.99 is a lot for any of those games, though. And it is almost an impossible challenge to convince somebody to play something like Myst and then not compare it negatively to Myst. We have a game called Rise of Insanity, which looks like a horror game. I don't know how many more horror games I really need to play. Risk of Rain, I should play, but I don't have a lot of interest in. Risky Global Domination seems not to be purchasable anymore. Rituals, Rivals of Aether, River City Girls, a game I definitely would like to play, but not at $29.99. Road Not Taken, looks like it's a puzzle path game. I'm gonna double check on that. Here we have a Robinson Crusoe and Cross Pirates game that's not reviewed, so I don't think it has any relevancy at $3.99. Rocket Knight, Rocket Birds 1 and 2, rated very positively. Rogues Like Us, Roller Ride, and then Roller Coaster Tycoon. And see, that definitely would be an argument for instead of playing other spin-offs or clones of Roller Coaster Tycoon, I should probably just play Roller Coaster Tycoon. Apparently, Roller Coaster Tycoon Classic is $11.99, whereas in 3 years earlier they released Deluxe for $2.03, so I'm not sure if you really need both of these games. Maybe it would be just better to own the classic version. Here we have something called Rolling Line, which looks like a railroad game, and I don't have any real desire to play much more of those, or any more of those. They're fairly boring games. Here we have a game called Rooms. This probably is a student project, Roof Mod. Here we have one, Rosenkreuz Stilett, and some German name games. German name games that look like anime style platforming games. They're not too expensive though, and they're rated positively. Here we have our Rube Works, Rube Goldberg invention game. There's a game that's not on Steam called The Impossible Machine that was very old that I'd prefer to have that instead of this game, but it, as far as I know, is not on Steam. Ruiner for $4.99 is probably finally at a reasonable price at that. Frumu is like a Roombot clone. Here we have one called Run or Die. Here we have one called Runaway Dream of the Turtle. Interesting. So we have a mixed reviewed $1.99 point and click adventure, and we have a very positive point and click adventure. So that probably means that brings the whole series down to positive, and I should reconsider it. Like, do I really want to play one game that is very positive just to play the sequel and be unhappy about it, or should I just play the good game and forget about the sequel? Rush is a Disney Pixar adventure game of some sort. It's probably still got a lot of relevancy being Disney Pixar movies, so I'd keep that. Rise, Son of Rome at $2.99 is definitely reasonable at that point. And then that leaves us at the Stalker games for S. And if we just look at how many S games there are, yeah, there are going to be a decent amount of S games. That's what I thought. Yeah. So next time we do a wishlist cleanup, we'll probably see quite a lot of S games, and I'm still scrolling down, and we'll probably at that point I think see a lot of T games also. That seems to be the titles of games in general. A lot of games start with S, a lot of games start with T. Star Wars and Star Trek games all start with S and T. Street Fighter games all start with S. Yeah, I'm still scrolling down. Yeah, it is, I would say maybe an eighth of the entire list is just games that start with S. And finally I got to Tabletop Simulator. And let's just see how many T games there are. There's a ton, because everything that starts with the letter THE also is included as a T game, or the word the. So yeah, there's a ton of T games. And yeah, S and T combined probably is a sixth of the entire wish list. I'm still scrolling. There's fewer T games, I think. Slightly fewer compared to S, but not all the Tom Clancy games start with T. Yeah, finally. Slightly fewer T games. And then after T, it would be a very quick cleanup after that point to just get rid of the rest of the games and curate the rest of the wish list. So that brings me back to my Twitter feed, and Gamatsu has an article here, a report that Microsoft, Take-Two, EA, and Activision are interested in a Warner Brothers Interactive Entertainment acquisition. That's an interesting article because that brings about two questions. Are each of those individual companies interested in 100% ownership, or are all of those companies interested in are they interested in forming like a holding company where each of those companies own a part of it? Because while that typically isn't something that's done in the United States and America, in Japan particularly, that's exactly how you do this. You'd say, hey, we're all interested in that. Instead of us getting into a bidding war, let's instead just form a holding company, each invest less money to own a fraction of this company, and all will be well, I suppose. Although, in all fairness, that really doesn't work. That doesn't work very well in the long run. It only works well to have a holding company and a production company in the short run, because it just becomes too many cooks in the kitchen, and then you have a lot of personality conflicts and problems appear. Let's see, we have a article that the Dragon Quest builders and Saga developers join Type Moon Studio BB, an offshoot of the Fate Grand Order developer. Donnie Yen is hinting that the Sleeping Dogs movie starts filming soon. Soon being a relative term. There's no filming, I'm sure, going on right now due to the pandemic. A lot of things probably planned to start soon, and then those plans will just never get implemented once things all get done. But yeah, not a lot of news, even over the course of the past 2.5 hours. So yeah, Gamatsu had this article. No deal is currently imminent. They've all expressed interest in a potential acquisition. Blah blah. AT&T, the parent company of Warner Bros., has yet to decide whether it will sell the business. This is one of those scenarios where AT&T could either be smart and sell the business now and never know that how smart they are, or they could be stupid and not sell the business when they're given an offer of, let's say, 10-20 billion for Warner Brothers, and then 5-10 years down the line Warner Brothers isn't worth even 1 billion, and then AT&T sells it for a ridiculous loss of potential income. And then Gamma Sutra has this article, the Dragon Quest builders and Saga developers join Type Moon Studio BB. We already mentioned that. It's just a few paragraphs. So I need to attack with 9 more characters and get at least 3 more victories, if not 8 more victories off screen. But we are definitely not struggling here. We are doing fairly well. And we're still getting packs. Part of the other reason that may not be so obvious that we're trying to get as many of the core 2020 card sets as possible is that the individual card rewards, when you have a quest that gives you a card, or when you have something that gives you one of these, like a mythic card reward, all of those are going to be shifted fairly soon to only include the most recent 4 expansions. So if I get a rare card and all the cards that I have, if I already have all the rare cards, at some point I should be getting gems instead. And gems clearly are the things we need more than anything else, because I am definitely short on gems. Unfortunately, I spent money to try and get gems, which is taking us further and further away from being able to afford Historic Anthology Bundle 3, which I really would like to buy that, but I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to do both. Get gems and play a weekly draft. I think Monday will be our weekly draft day going forward, though. Monday does seem like it is the best time to do it. And yeah, I don't see a real argument against it. And that brings me to the Humble Bundle store. And there is a bundle that ends in like 22 hours of games, and there's a software bundle that ends in about a day and 22 hours. So there are no new bundles at the moment. So that's going to be it for this stream. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching.